welcome to Gridiron Grapevine. Today we're talking with Alan Metzel. Coach Metzel has been a coach for 28 years and an offensive coordinator for 18. Thank you for sitting down and talking with us, Coach. Many people, I know I've stated that you've been an offensive coordinator for 18 years. Many people might not know what that entails. Can you tell us, what does an offensive coordinator do?
Okay. That question is pretty large. I think the most important thing for a coordinator, whether it's offense or defense, is you've got to know what your head coach wants and find out what his vision is from an offensive standpoint. Are we going to be a tempo team, or are we going to try and use the clock? Are we going to be no huddle, or are we going to be huddle? Are we going to be an aggressive attacking team that tries to throw the ball down the field versus a team that's going to grind it out? And that has to match with what the vision of the head coach is. So my job is to give the head coach what they want. Okay, so that's where it starts. From that, then we're going to go, okay, I'm going to start it in January, okay, because we have segments of the year that are different.
Mm-hmm.
So in January, we're going to assess what we did in the season. We're going to look at things we did well. We're going to look at things we didn't do well. We're going to try and figure out why we didn't do certain things well. We're going to look at the guys that we have coming back, the returning starters, the kids are moving up from JV or freshman or whatever, and we're going to go, okay, is what we did last year within the framework of who we are and the vision. Okay, are we going to be able to do these things, or are we going to have to tailor that a little bit differently? Are we going to be a bigger team, a slower team, a faster team? What's this year's group going to look like? All within the framework of who we are and our vision. So in January, February, that's kind of what the focus is. The look back, the assess who we have, and okay, now we're about to move into this phase of getting ready for next year. So in the March and April time period, we go to colleges, we watch a lot of film, we're trying to see, is there anything new out there that we like this, is Clemson doing this, or Oklahoma's doing this, or Texas, or whoever, and that looks like something we do, and let's go to them and find out the details of it and how do they do it well. So that's the time of the year that we really focus on new things. Okay.
Sorry to interrupt.
Mm-hmm.
Is that based on what you know is coming up? So you go to those schools, you see what they have, and you're like, okay, that's something that we can run with the athletes that we have in our program.
That's it. Exactly. Okay. Exactly. Because otherwise it's the old square peg in the round hole, and it may even be what you did last year that was successful. It's really not going to have the same opportunity this coming year, so you have to tweak that a little bit. So anyway, like I said, looking at successful programs, seeing what they do. We're not going to go and study, let's say, Navy per se, because they're a slot, option type team, so much, because that's not what we do. Not that they don't have great things and they do it well, and there'll be other people that study them. But we're going to look more at Clemson or Oklahoma or whatever, because it's spread and they're going to throw the ball around and do RPOs and that sort of thing. So we're going to look at the things they do and see how it applies. Is there something that we can do different? We can do better. We like this, so we're going to get rid of this and add that in, that sort of thing. So that's the spring time period. And so then there's that experimentation time period where we're going to be doing some stuff during the period where we're trying some of that stuff, seeing how it looks, and it's going to look a little bit ugly at that time, and we try and hit the big picture of all the things that we do. So, but that's when you can cover all that.
Can you put that sort of stuff in a 7-on-7?
Some of it. That's a great question. Some of it. 7-on-7, we look at it as like our 2-minute offense. Because it's a facet of the game. It's not football. It's a facet of the game. And it does give us some practice in that segment. But we try not to put too much into 7-on-7 because it's not football. There's more tackling. They get to cover with more people. You get to hold the ball longer. That's not necessarily realistic in a real game. So in that area, we want to refine that. But there's teams that win state 7-on-7 things and then they go 0-for-10. And then the years that we've gone to state, there were times we didn't make it to the state 7-on-7 or whatever. That really doesn't have a great bearing on how good you're going to be in real pro football.
Absolutely.
So it's a facet, and that part of the game, when we pick up, let's say we pick up a scheme that we like, we go, okay, we can get that practice here, but it's limited. Okay, so we move on into April, May. April, May, we're looking to get a lot of repetition of trying to predict what we're going to be, and making sure that a lot of the kids, that all the kids are getting an opportunity to do it. And so that's why sometimes when kids move here, like right during two-a-days, they're way behind because we've spent from January to May where all these repetitions and opportunities were given, and so it's harder. There's a whole lot to make up.
Right.
And so by the time we get to two-a-days, we're just redoing what we did in April and May. It's been put in, it's been done. Very little change is done there unless you have some kind of major injury issue or something like that, or maybe your quarterback position change that you weren't expecting, something like that. So getting into an in-season thing, what's the coordinator do? Well, the coordinator is going to give the offensive, just like the defense coordinator is going to do it, vision for the offensive staff. And so it's being able to personnel, who are our best people, how do we get people the ball in certain places, how are we spreading it around where they can't just key on one person or one thing, the breakdown of film, making sure we have a staff of guys who are going to look at film on the offensive side from a coaching point. Well, who's looking at what? I need this person looking at red zone defense. I need this person looking at secondary coverage. I need this guy looking at the fronts and blitzes. It's an organizational role of making sure all that's getting covered, and then we can all look at it and
piece
make
it together.
Exactly, and then you get into game planning and scripting your plays and all that sort of
That
thing.
kind of leads me into my next question. So, what kind of preparations take place, and what do you do to make those preparations for a game each
For a
Friday?
game, okay. Well, for us, like I said, we have this format of, okay, this is who we are, and it's fairly broad, but it does have boundaries. And I think in younger times of my career, whatever, we tend to, as coaches, just always think there's another play, there's another, you watch something on Saturday and you go, oh yeah, we're going to put that in next week. And maybe from time to time that's plausible, but for us, we kind of shy away from doing that because we don't have the reps into it. And so when you get out there on a Friday night, it's not going to look real good. So what we tend to do is say, okay, here's our framework, and we're going to watch film on Saturday, we're going to watch film on Sunday, and Sunday we're going to begin to formulate, okay, out of this framework, these are the formations we're going to use, these are the plays we're going to use, the motions we're going to use, because we're looking at an odd front, an even front, what do they do in their secondary, who are their best players, how do we avoid them, where do we have good matchups, that sort of thing. And so we're going to tailor our play calling to that. So at that point, we're going to decide what are our openers, what are our third down situational plays, whether it's a run or pass, third and short, third and medium, third and long, red zone from the 45 down into inside the 5. And we have organized and thought through, okay, we're going to, at this landmark, we're going to run these plays. And at this landmark, we're going to run these plays.
Is that based on just what works so well for y'all in practice, or also taking into effect what the defense gives you in that?
Great question. On the weekend, it's going to be more, okay, what are they giving us that suits what we do? Okay. Obviously, there are things that we get to where, because of repetition, we do them better. Well, we might have a scheme that worked well against this one team but doesn't work as well against this other team. Well, we might take that scheme and tweak it, so we're staying with the same scheme, but maybe I need to put the outside receiver on the inside and the inside receiver on the outside or whatever. So from a standpoint of knowing the play, it's the same play, but you're tweaking
Based
the
on what
scheme.
they give you. So
Based
you
on
know
what
it's
they give you.
working.
Correct.
Here's how I'm going to tweak it to make it
Exactly.
work even better against that team.
Exactly.
So if you could just give me a number, how many hours does it go into preparing for a game, or the hours that you in a normal day, not counting the hours that just keep you up at night because you're thinking about
Right,
stuff.
right. Here, I would say an average week here, we work about 9 would say that's right around average. You get into the playoffs, sometimes that increases, but we'll work Saturday morning get here about 7 and work till about 3 or more, and depending on how long it takes to get prepared. And then Sunday we're from like 2 to anywhere from 7 to 9, and then most nights we're here till 8:30 or 9, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then of course game nights you're here later. But,
Absolutely.
and all that varies depending on who you're playing and how difficult the scheme it is, and the rule is we work until we get it done, until it gets right. But at the same time, we work very hard at being efficient from the standpoint of we're not just going to sit here and twiddle our thumbs and be in this room because, well, you're supposed to. Coaches are supposed to be here a long time. We don't believe that, because we have families and we have a life, not as much in football season, but
Yeah.
it's if we're here, we're working.
So you mentioned earlier about your script that goes
Yes.
into. So when you plan your script, do you have it planned by the first 10 plays? How
Good
long
question.
is it?
Yeah, a lot of our philosophy in that dates back to Bill Walsh's book, Finding the Winning Edge, and it's about this thick, and just a phenomenal resource. I highly recommend it to any coach if they haven't read it. It's just phenomenal, and a lot of it, or I'd say a third of it, is professional stuff that may not apply, but from philosophy to organization to job responsibilities to how to think things through in the game and so forth. It's just amazing. And one of the things that he was famous for was his scripting and game planning and that sort of thing. And what he talks about philosophically is I can make better calls when I'm not as tired and the clock, I don't have 20-something seconds, it's ticking down, and the pressure of the fans and the pressure of failure and so forth. When I'm in the office and it's quiet and I can think and I can look at the film, to be able to think through, okay, these are the things I'm wanting to get done. And so it's not that you can't ever make an adjustment in the game, and I think that's a question that we'll probably talk about later, adjustments, but I want to think through the game here when it's quiet. So we will write out a script of up to like 36 plays, okay, which is a lot. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to go 1 through 36.
Yeah.
But now I'll say this, we'll usually go through 12 pretty disciplined, the first 12 or so. Then the next portion of that script becomes like a play bank that we draw from, okay? And that 36 is what we have focused on in practice, really focused on. And we'll pick and choose and so forth between, like when our defense is out there, okay, I like this, or let's stay with that, let's stay with the next one, no, I don't like that, I don't like that, this next one, let's do it, so forth. So we have those are all first and second down plays. And then you have your situational plays. That's where you have your scripted, okay, on third and short, these are the things I want to do. On third and medium, these are the things I want to do. Third and long, these are the things I want to do, depending on the hash and that sort of thing, okay? Then you have your red zone scripting, like I said, landmarks when you go, okay, I want to go to the end zone from this yard line. Well, this is the play we're going to use. So we get off that script and move over to here. So what that does is it puts you in a position to make decisions quickly. They've been thought through. And at times there's a variance off of it, but that's the anomaly versus having to just call off the top of your head and you have all that pressure.
Absolutely. So play-by-play commentators mention all the time, and color analysts mention about adjustments.
Right.
You mentioned earlier. So what type of halftime adjustments take place?
Okay.
What, as an offensive coordinator, I'm sure you meet with your coaches, you talk about what works, what doesn't, and then how do you map that out and then address your players?
Okay. Well, let me go back to the Bill Walsh philosophy, okay, in that in your week, you want to do the best job you can planning for, okay, if this doesn't work, they will probably have done this, And so these are the things we would do instead. Plan A, Plan B, however many of those you need to have. But within that framework of what we went into the week, there's the script, but then there's contingency plans. So if they're doing this against us, then these are our answers for that. If they're doing this against us, then these are the plans we have. So you're avoiding, drawn in the dirt, is what I'm saying.
What do we do?
Correct.
Yeah.
You don't want to put yourself in that position. And so there's a confidence level that is held by the players that, oh yeah, well, we worked on that. If they did this, well, these are the things we'll do. And if they did this, well, these are the things we do, which puts you in a position to play at a lot higher level, because the more confident the guys are, the more they know, oh yeah, we did that on Wednesday, then they play better.
I was going to say that probably, just to piggyback, it probably helps with a young leader, like a young quarterback, that they already know that this is what we're going to look at, this is what we practice.
Absolutely. So a lot of times, I think commentators, it's almost like, oh yeah, well, they went in there and scrapped the whole thing they were doing. That doesn't happen much, okay? And I would dare say if it does at times and works, then you're probably just lucky, and we want to reduce the amount of opportunity for luck to come into play. There are times that the ball bounces the wrong way, and it just is what it is. But we're going to try and narrow that down to very few times out of a year, where that's the difference between what made us win or not. Was that one bounce.
So that preparation that goes into it really is what enhances
it's critical.
Yes.
It's critical. And we're always growing at that. We're always growing at understanding, okay, what's too much? Where are we as a team? Sometimes you have a team that a lot of people are coming back, and you're able to expand it a little bit more. And some years you go, you assess it and you go, we're not handling where we are right now. We got to scale this back a little bit and work back to maybe where we are now. So that's always a continual growing, learning process, and every year's different. It's not a carbon copy, and so the adjustments, you want to do the best job you can planning for contingency 1, contingency 2, contingency 3, and make where you're going, okay, well, you do this, the chances of that working are very small.
So after all of this, when we're talking about the preparation, the hours that go into it, and the years that you have been doing this, many people might say, wow, that's a lot. Why do you keep coming back? So what is it, something about what you do that just brings you back every single year?
Yeah, well, that's good. Because it is tiring. There's a lot of years. It does take its toll on you physically and those kind of things. But it's absolutely the relationships. Absolutely. It's getting to know another athlete, getting to know another team, the challenge of taking them from where we are to where we want to be, watching them grow, watching young men grow as leaders, watching them where you go, that guy, when he's got a job someday, he's going to do well. We were talking about a young man today. Coach Turner and I were walking off the field, and this guy, he's just a impressive young man, and he's not someone that will probably play a lot, but he'll have a role. And I just told Coach Turner, I said, when he's 35, we're going to sit down, and he's going to tell us about what he's doing and his family and his job, and it's going to be awesome, because that's just who he is. And so that's exciting. And then, I think for anyone who coaches, there's got to be a love for the mental part of it too. The chess game, that's its own facet, and that's exciting. That's intellectually stimulating, and so there's that too. And I think if you lose either, or whatever in that mix, then you probably need to call it a career and do something different.
Well, Coach, I've enjoyed this so much. Thank you for sitting down with us today.
Thanks for the opportunity.
And we wish you and your team the very best.
Thank you.